I heard the sliding of hangers, the thud of shoe boxes hitting the floor, the usual sounds of a wife getting organized, until everything went dead quiet. That kind of silence that raises the hair on the back of your neck, the kind you feel before you hear it. I walked inside, wiping my hands on a rag, and there she was, standing frozen in the hallway, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. In her hand, the ring box. Small, black velvet. Old-fashioned, like the kind a man carries when he's about to change two lives forever. She stared at it like it was a live grenade, like it had just ticked down to the last second. And I saw it happen, the second the narrative twisted in her mind. Not curiosity, not happiness. Suspicion. Accusation. I didn't even get a word out before she snapped the box open and looked inside. The ring gleamed under the hallway light, clean cut, heavy stone, classic setting. It was a ring a woman dreams about finding. A ring meant for promises, for rebuilding, for second chances. But that's not what she saw. Her hand shook. Her breathing sped up. She dropped the box like it burned her and took a step back, clutching her chest like she'd been shot. "How long have you been lying to me?" she whispered, voice hoarse. I opened my mouth to answer, but she didn't wait, didn't give me the space, didn't even let the silence fill the room between us. She shoved past me, grabbed her purse, fumbled with her phone. I should have known. I knew something was wrong. She wasn't texting me, wasn't calling a friend. She was calling him. The man I already knew existed in the shadows of our life. The one she thought I hadn't noticed. The one she thought she could run to when the life we built wasn't good enough anymore. She thought she caught me. Thought she had the upper hand. Thought she had the excuse she needed to burn it all down and walk away clean. And standing there in that hallway, watching her bolt into the driveway with nothing but a wallet, a phone, and a guilty conscience, I realized something. She didn't understand what she had just found. She thought the ring was a sign I was betraying her. What she didn't know, what she couldn't even imagine yet, was that the ring wasn't for another woman. It had been for her. Once. Before she made it worthless. And now? Now it was going to be the first nail in the coffin she built with her own hands. She came back 2 hours later. Doors slammed. Keys hit the counter like gunshots. Footsteps charged through the hallway, each one louder than the last. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and the ring box sitting between my hands like a chess piece, untouched, unopened, waiting. She stormed in, eyes wild, face flushed. Tears streaked down her cheeks, but they weren't from sadness. They were rage. Guilt trying to wear a different face. "Who is she?" she snapped, standing over me. "Tell me the truth, right now. Don't you dare lie to me." I looked up slowly, met her eyes, held the silence just long enough for it to hurt. "What are you talking about?" That pushed her over. "Don't play dumb. I found it. The ring. You were going to propose to someone, weren't you? Was it her? How long have you been sneaking around?" Her voice cracked. She was shaking now, but not with sadness, with desperation. Because the second she said it out loud, she realized how insane it sounded. She wasn't accusing me because she had evidence. She was accusing me because she was already guilty and she needed someone else to blame. Then it happened. A soft voice behind us. "Mom." We both froze. Our daughter stood in the hallway, wearing her favorite pajamas, clutching a stuffed bear with one hand and rubbing her eyes with the other. She was only 9. Too old not to understand something was wrong. Too young to understand just how deep betrayal cuts. "Why are you yelling?" Her mother spun around too fast. Panicked. Off balance. "Nothing, sweetie. Mommy and Daddy are just talking." But kids aren't stupid. They see things we think they can't. They feel what we try to hide. Our son was behind her, older, silent, watching everything. His face said what his voice didn't. He didn't buy a word of it. And that's when I decided to end the scene. I stood up, slowly, picked up the ring box, turned it over once in my palm, and slid it into my pocket. "This isn't how it should have gone," I said. She blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "You want the truth? You'll get it. But not here. Not like this. Not in front of them." She tried to hold her ground, but her eyes flicked toward the kids, and I could see the cracks forming. Because they were watching. They were the audience now. And deep down, even in her twisted, tangled mess of lies and justifications, she knew it mattered what they saw next. "We'll talk tomorrow," I said. "All of us." She looked like she wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, to lash out, to shift the guilt back to my side of the table. But she didn't. Because she saw it, the calm in my face, the control in my posture, the fact that I wasn't panicking. And that terrified her more than anything. Because when a man doesn't raise his voice, when he doesn't fight back, it means he's already planned how this ends. And it never ends well for the one who started the fire. The night was heavy after that. No more shouting. No more accusations. Just a cold, stretched out silence that filled every room like smoke you couldn't clear. She stayed locked in the bedroom. I stayed downstairs with the kids. I made popcorn, threw on one of their favorite old movies, not because any of us were in the mood, but because normalcy was the only thing I could still give them that night. Our daughter curled up on the couch, head against my chest, silent except for the occasional hiccup of leftover tears. Our son sat at the other end, arms crossed, as not really seeing the screen. He was old enough to know something was wrong. Old enough to have questions he didn't know how to ask yet. Halfway through the movie, he finally spoke. "Dad, are you and Mom getting a divorce?" I didn't flinch. Didn't rush to fill the silence. I muted the TV and turned to look at him, really look at him, before answering. "We're gonna have some hard talks soon, buddy. And whatever happens, I need you to know something." He stared back at me, young but strong, waiting. "None of this is your fault. None of it is your sister's fault. What's happening is between grown-ups who forgot how to be honest with each other. And no matter what, I'm not going anywhere. You two are my whole world." He didn't cry, didn't crumble. He just nodded once, jaw tight, like a man trying to armor himself against a storm he knew he couldn't stop. My daughter shifted, squeezing tighter against me. I wrapped my arms around them both and sat there in the flickering light, listening to the hum of the heater and the distant creak of floorboards upstairs. The family we were supposed to be, the future we were supposed to have, had already fractured. They just didn't know yet how deep the cracks ran. And maybe, once upon a time, it could have been different. Maybe if she had come to me instead of looking elsewhere. Maybe if she had fought for what we built instead of chasing ghosts. Because what she didn't know, what she never even thought to ask it, was that the ring she found wasn't part of a betrayal. It was part of a plan. 3 months earlier, before I started noticing the late nights, the secret smiles at her phone, the sudden self-care weekends she couldn't explain. I had gone to that jewelry store with a heart full of hope and a plan in my hands. I thought maybe a second proposal could remind her who we were, what we had built. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could bring her back before we drifted too far apart. But love isn't a lifeboat you can drag someone onto if they're already swimming toward another shore. While I was picking out the cut and setting that would match the ring she wore on her wedding day, she was already texting another man about how trapped she felt. While I was planning candlelit dinners and weekend getaways to spark what we once had, she was whispering promises to someone who never built a damn thing in his life. The ring wasn't proof of betrayal. It was proof that I had been trying to save something that was already dead. And tomorrow, when we sat down and the truth came out, she would see that too. Maybe for the first time. Maybe too late. She didn't come downstairs that night. No apology. No excuse. Not even a fake explanation to the kids. Just silence. The kind of silence that says, "I'm not ready to face the consequences yet." Fine. She had one more night to pretend. The next morning, I was already up when she came down. Hair messy, no makeup, wearing a hoodie that didn't belong to me. She stopped short when she saw me sitting at the table, same spot, coffee in hand, but this time with my phone recording her entrance, just for safety. I didn't say a word. She muttered a quiet morning and shuffled past like a teenager caught sneaking in late. I let her eat in silence. Then I cleared my throat and said, "We're talking tonight. After dinner. With the kids. Everything comes out." Her spoon stopped midair. She blinked, then set it down slowly. "The kids? Why would we?" "Because they hurt us. They already know something's wrong. And they deserve the truth. All of it. From both of us." She stared at me like I'd just slapped her. For a second, I saw panic flicker in her eyes. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said, voice shaky. "They're too young. It'll just confuse them." "No," I said flatly. "They're smarter than you think. And if we don't give them the truth, they'll carry the lies." Her jaw clenched. She tried to play it cool, to shift gears like she always did when caught off guard. "Let's just wait until the weekend. Give everyone time to calm down. Tonight," I repeated. She stood, pacing now, biting her thumb like she was thinking hard. But I could see it. She wasn't stalling to protect the kids. She was stalling to protect herself. Because the truth, if spoken in front of the children, would kill whatever scraps of dignity she had left. She had lied to them. To me. To herself. And she knew if the truth came out in the open, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose them, too. I let the silence stretch between us, watch her unravel in real time. Why are you doing this? She finally snapped. You're trying to make me look like the bad guy. I don't have to try, I said quietly. You did that on your own. She flinched. Actually flinched. That was the moment I knew the control had shifted. For weeks, maybe months, she thought she held all the cards. Thought she was the one making the rules while I stood there too slow, too soft, too blind. But now she knew better. She knew I had seen through the fog. And I wasn't there to fight her. I was there to expose her. She didn't come to dinner that night. Texted me from upstairs, not feeling well. The kids noticed. They asked questions. And I didn't lie. Mom's going through something, I told them. But tomorrow, we're all going to talk. No more secrets. I tucked them in myself. Read to my daughter. Sat quietly on the edge of my son's bed until he fell asleep. Then I walked back down the hallway, paused outside the bedroom door she'd locked. Not to knock. Not to talk. Just to stand there for a second and let her know. I was coming. Not with rage. Not with fists. With facts. With calm. With truth. And once it hit the air, she wouldn't be able to outrun it. She came to the table the next evening like she was walking to her own execution. Hair brushed, makeup light, that old mask of control back on. But her hands gave her away. They never stopped moving, fidgeting with a napkin, adjusting her bracelet, straightening her water glass. The kids sat across from us, quiet but watchful. I started before she could. I want to talk about what's been going on. And I want us to be honest. All of us. She opened her mouth, probably to play the victim again, but I raised a hand and said, no more spinning. No more half-truths. This time we lay everything on the table. You wanted to know about the ring? Fine. I'll tell you. I reached into my pocket and pulled it out, same black velvet box. Set it in the middle of the table. I bought that 3 months ago. For you. Not someone else. I thought if I reminded you what we had, really reminded you, maybe we could fix things. She swallowed hard. Tried to speak. But I wasn't done. But something changed. I noticed things. Little things, at first. Your phone face down. New passwords. Weekend trips that didn't add up. Gas receipts from towns you weren't supposed to be in. Her eyes darted to the kids, suddenly aware of the room again. Don't do this here, she whispered. I warned you, I said. They already heard the yelling. They already know something's wrong. They deserve the truth more than either of us. She looked down at the table, silent. So I kept going. I pulled the phone records. I saw the late-night calls. The hidden numbers. The hotel charges. I even found your second messaging app. Our son shifted in his seat. That's when I dropped the twist. But you know what really tipped me off? It wasn't the receipts. Or your lies. It was our son. Her head snapped up. What? 2 months ago, he came to me. Said he saw you getting dropped off late at night, not by a friend. He didn't understand what he was seeing, but he knew something wasn't right. She went pale. Tried to speak. Nothing came out. He thought maybe it was a surprise party. Or you were helping someone. He was worried about me, not you. That's when I knew. If our own kid could sense something was wrong, it meant this wasn't a mistake. This was a decision. Tears welled in her eyes. The mask cracked. But I wasn't done. I pulled out a folder from beside me, thick with printed pages, photos, screenshots. I didn't want to believe it. That's why I waited. Why I said nothing. Why I didn't confront you the second I knew. Because I wanted to be absolutely sure. I wanted to know if the woman I married would come clean, or bury herself deeper. I opened the folder. She stared at it like it was radioactive. I didn't shove it in her face. Didn't raise my voice. Just slid it across the table. She didn't touch it. Didn't have to. She knew. The kids didn't understand all of it. Not yet, but the tension in the room was thick enough to make anyone feel sick. And in that silence, I said one last thing. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to protect them. From now on, everything I do is for their good. And if that means tearing this family apart to keep them safe from your lies, then that's what I'll do. She broke then. Silent sobs, shoulders shaking, hands trembling over the napkin she had twisted into a rope. But I didn't reach for her. Because this wasn't the moment for comfort. It was the moment she realized she wasn't the only one who could keep secrets. And I didn't need to scream mine to destroy her. I just needed to show her the truth. And let it do the work for me. 3 days later, we were sitting across from each other in a polished, silent law office. Not at home. Not in a kitchen. Not in a bedroom full of broken apologies and half-truths. This was the battlefield now, clean, cold, professional. She looked smaller than I remembered. Hair tied back. Makeup light. Wearing the same necklace I gave her 5 Christmases ago, probably trying to play innocent. But she couldn't make eye contact. Not with me. Not with the lawyer across from her. Not even with herself. My attorney, cool, methodical, laid out everything in plain language. The documentation. The timelines. The transfer of marital funds. The breach of trust. The infidelity clause. Every word hit like a gavel. Her lawyer barely tried to argue. He just sat there, flipping through pages like he'd never seen them before, because he hadn't. She hadn't told him everything. She thought she could control the narrative. But now, she was in my world. I reached into my bag and pulled out the ring box one last time. No flourish. No drama. Just laid it flat on the polished oak table and opened it, letting the diamond catch the sunlight through the window. The room went quiet. This, I said, wasn't a weapon. It was a peace offering. Before I knew. Before I caught the lies. Before I realized I was the only one trying to save what we built. She blinked fast, tears threatening. But I wasn't done. I held on to it thinking maybe, just maybe, you'd come clean. That you'd walk in one night, look me in the eye, and tell the truth. And if you had, maybe this would have ended different. But you didn't. You blamed me. You played the victim. You let our kids sit in the dark while you danced around your own mess. Her voice finally broke. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I leaned back in the chair, folding my hands. But you meant to start it. She wiped at her face. Her lawyer cleared his throat and shifted in his seat. Let's discuss settlement options. No, I said. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to finish. That's when it hit her. This wasn't about revenge. This was about consequences. And it was only just beginning. Because then her lawyer, fumbling through the folder, paused. Do you know Elise Foley? Her head snapped up, eyes wide, blood drained. That's his wife, she whispered. Whose wife? I asked, playing dumb. She didn't answer. Because she didn't have to. Elise Foley, wife of the man she'd been sleeping with for 4 months. The same man she'd called her safe place. The same man who promised they'd be together soon. Turns out, Elise had found out everything. And unlike my ex, she didn't waste time. She'd already contacted my attorney, already forwarded screenshots of texts, already prepped her own divorce. And her parting message? If your wife thought she was special to him, she wasn't. She's the 4th, and not the youngest. The room tilted sideways for a moment. My ex's hands flew to her mouth. But I didn't flinch. Because I'd read Elise's full email days earlier. Because I already knew. And now so did she. Everything she'd thrown away was for a man who didn't even remember her middle name. It unraveled fast after that. Like a house with termites in the beams. Everything looked stable until the first real hit, and then the whole damn thing fell in on itself. The moment Elise's name came up, the mask cracked. My ex didn't argue, didn't deny. She just sat there staring into space like the lights were on, but no one was left inside. We left that office with terms already written in ink. She got the car she drove, a few thousand in her personal checking account, and the clothes she could pack in 30 minutes. The house, mine. Retirement savings? Locked tight. Custody? Joint, at first, on paper. But it didn't stay that way. Because when someone burns down a home, they don't get to keep visiting like nothing happened. And the kids? They chose without hesitation. My son told me the night after the mediation. I don't want to stay with her. I don't even know who she is anymore. My daughter, sweet, sensitive, forgiving, asked me in a whisper if it was okay that she felt angry. I told her anger isn't a sin when it comes from betrayal. It's a signal. They both stayed with me. And the court didn't argue. Not after what I submitted. Photos. Statements. Messages Elise had sent. Testimony from a school counselor who noticed the kids stressed the exact month the affair started. The judge's ruling was simple. She could have weekends. Supervised at first. But even that started slipping when she couldn't hold it together. Derek, or Darren, whatever his name really was, ghosted her the second the fallout hit his doorstep. Turns out, when his wife threw his clothes on the lawn and changed the locks, he found clarity real fast. She tried texting him, calling him, even showing up at his workplace, only to get turned away by security. All those promises? Gone. He moved out of state within 2 weeks. Blocked her on everything. And now she stood in the ashes, alone. No lover. No home. No legal power. And worst of all, no trust from the only people who ever really loved her. I heard from her sister, briefly. Apparently, she was staying in a 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. No furniture. Just an air mattress and a shelf of spiritual self-help books. Still trying to convince herself she was on some kind of healing journey. But the truth? She wasn't healing. She was hiding from the weight of her own decisions. She texted me once. No apology. Just 3 words. You were right. I didn't reply. Because some truths don't need responses. And some ruins? They're meant to be left untouched. 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, she showed up at my front door. No warning. No text. No heads up from her lawyer. Just stood there on the porch, hoodie pulled tight, hair a mess, dark circles under her eyes that concealer couldn't hide. I didn't speak. Just opened the screen door and waited. Can we talk? She asked. Voice soft. Empty. Nothing like the woman who once stood here screaming about a ring she didn't understand. I nodded, led her around back, away from the kids. We sat at the picnic table I built with my son last summer, the stain still fresh under the winter wear. She looked smaller than I remembered. Lighter. Like the world had been chewing her up piece by piece. I don't expect forgiveness, she said quietly. I didn't know who I was anymore. I thought I needed something else. I thought I was dying inside. I said nothing. I didn't love him, she added. Not really. I think I just hated myself. And maybe that was true. Or maybe it was just the story she needed to tell herself now that she had no one left to lie to. You never yelled, she said. You never fought me. You just let it happen. I looked at her for a long moment. Because fighting would have meant there was still something worth saving. She winced like I'd slapped her. Good. So what now? She asked. Do we just raise the kids like strangers? No, I said. We raise them like parents. But we don't pretend to be something we're not. She nodded. Bit her lip. You were a good man, she whispered. No, I corrected. I still am. She tried to smile, but couldn't. The tears came instead. Real ones, this time. But I didn't reach across the table. Didn't wipe them away. That wasn't my job anymore. The kids came outside a few minutes later, backpacks ready for drop-off. Our daughter hugged her mother out of habit. Our son gave a polite nod, nothing more. I handed her the overnight bag and stood there as they walked to her car. She looked back once. Not with hope. Not with regret. Just the stunned silence of someone who finally understood. She hadn't lost me when she cheated. She'd lost me the moment I realized I didn't need to fight for someone who threw me away before the bell ever rang. The peace didn't come all at once. It came in pieces. Like early mornings with my son, splitting firewood before school. Or the quiet dinners where my daughter stopped looking toward the door, expecting her mother to walk in late with some excuse. It came in the way the house sounded without tension, the absence of slammed doors, of muttered phone calls, of the cold silence that used to wrap around every room after dark. The storm had passed. And the wreckage had been cleared. Now it was time to build something real. I moved us to a new place, not far, but far enough that every wall didn't echo with memories. An old fixer-upper on the edge of town, with a wide porch and a backyard big enough for bonfires and scraped knees. Me and the kids painted the rooms ourselves. Chose new colors. Hung up new photos. No portraits of smiling liars. No reminders of what she used to be. Just us. What was left. And what we were becoming. I took a new position at work, more hours, more responsibility. But it gave us stability. Gave the kids consistency. Gave me purpose. And most of all, it kept my hands busy while my soul stitched itself back together. Then one evening, while we were unpacking the last few boxes, my daughter found it. The ring box. Still in the old flannel shirt I had stuffed in the back of a drawer and forgot about. She picked it up and brought it to me, holding it out like it was something holy. Is this for someone? I looked down at it. Paused. Opened the lid slowly. That stone still gleamed. Untouched, clean, perfectly set. A ring that never got to make the promise it was meant for. I looked her in the eyes and said, it was supposed to be, but I think now it means something different. What? That promises aren't always broken by lies. Sometimes they're broken by silence. And sometimes they're just not meant for the person you thought. She nodded slowly. Didn't ask anything else. Just held my hand and stood there with me while I stared at the ring one last time. I didn't throw it away. Didn't sell it. I packed it into a new box. Labeled it with one word. Lesson. And I put it in the attic. Not to forget. But to remember what it cost to learn the difference between love and illusion. And to make damn sure I never gave that kind of trust to someone who hadn't earned it again. The fire pit crackled under a low October sky, soft smoke curling into the breeze as stars blinked through the dusk. It was just the 3 of us now. Me, my boy, and my little girl, legs outstretched, jacket zipped, warm cocoa steaming in chipped mugs we hadn't bothered to replace. They were quieter these days, but not because they were scared. They were settled. Safe. My son leaned back in the old Adirondack chair we'd sanded down ourselves that summer. "Dad," he said, "do you ever miss her?" It wasn't an ambush. Not a test. Just a kid, asking a question he deserved an honest answer to. I stared into the fire for a moment, then gave him the truth. I missed the version of her I thought was real. But that woman never existed. He nodded. Didn't press. My daughter, younger but sharper than most adults I know, scooted closer and asked, "Are we better now?" I looked at her, really looked, and saw no fear in her face. No doubt. Just curiosity. Hope. "Yeah," I said. "We are." Because we were. We were a new kind of family now. Not perfect, but honest. And in a world that tried to sell you lies wrapped in soft words and pretty smiles, that honesty was worth more than gold. I looked out at the land behind our house, just grass and trees and soil that needed work. But it was mine. Ours. Not something borrowed. Not something broken. Something earned. And that's the word I kept coming back to. Earned. Not taken. Not stolen. Not handed out like a second chance to someone who didn't deserve the first. She thought love was a feeling. Something that faded. That could be replaced. I knew better. Love's not a feeling. It's a foundation. You build it. You hold it up. And if someone kicks out the beams, they don't get to come crawling back asking to move back in. I took a slow sip from my mug, leaned back in the chair, and stared up at the stars. "You know," I said, "sometimes losing everything is the only way you see what's really worth keeping." Neither of them said anything. They didn't have to, because they knew exactly what I meant. And I didn't need applause. Didn't need revenge. Didn't need her regret. I had peace. I had them. And that was the only victory I ever needed.